Hey, I am Jessica Nicole McLaurin,
And I'm Michael McLaurin.
and we welcome you to Free Friday. That's FFRE for Faith, Finance, and Real Estate. So today we want to talk about real estate and lessons from a seller's perspective. Well, I am a real estate agent and have been one since, Mississippi licensed real estate agent since 2017. And when I met Michael here, he was living in his own home, and we just decided that we would sell his and live in mine. But we want to just go through that process of just the lessons learned.
She always put me on the spot, looking at me like, your turn. So there's like multiple facets to this whole process. So you have people that own their homes outright, and then you have people that own their homes with a mortgage. So I still had a mortgage on mine. I stayed in my house, I think it was 15 years. And, over the years, then there were some repairs that was needed. And, like some people, the cost of the repairs, I really didn't feel like doing when I was getting ready to list my house by my lovely wife. So in the beginning process of trying to sell my home, I elected to sell it as is. Let's throw the hook in the water. Let's see if we get any bites. Let's see what it looks like, and see where we can go from there.
Oh, and let me say, selling as is, meaning a buyer would, even if they did a home inspection on it, the seller is basically saying they're not going to make any repairs.
So we went that route in the beginning, and these are some like crucial lessons learned, especially if you have a mortgage and you're trying to sell your house and you're trying to sell it as is. So we was getting some hits, and I think we got a couple of offers, but the offers were well below what my mortgage was, and we knew that wouldn't have been beneficial to sell it. And of course, it was investors that were coming to try to purchase the property. And, as investors, you will want to buy the house at the lowest price that you can get it, so you can make sure that you pad your profit margins.
So in other words, because we got to think about, we're talking, not everyone may understand the lingo and all of that, but because he was selling his home as is, meaning that there would be repairs necessary, both cosmetically and mechanically. You have those 5 really important areas: the roof, the foundation, the plumbing, the electrical, and the HVAC, which is AC and furnace, the heating and cooling systems. So with repairs needed, maybe not necessarily in all of those areas, but with repairs needed, an investor is going to want to come in low to make room for the repairs and room for profit if they were to choose to sell it, which is basically flipping. So yeah, that's what he's referring to.
Yep. She means the cosmetic upgrades, should they wanted to do it. So was getting a couple of offers, and they were well below what we were needing. At that point, I would have been fine to sell it for just break even, because I just wanted to get out of it so we can move forward with our life. And now a profit would have been lovely, but I wasn't.
He wanted to be able to pay the mortgage company and then get out, rather than being able to have some overage.
So that was my primary focus. Keep your focus when you're selling it. Like, what are you trying to do? What is your goal for selling your property. If it's to make a profit, then this goes into the next point. If it's trying to make a profit, then you need to do the things necessary to make sure that your house can sell at a profit, unless you own it free and clear, or your mortgage is low enough to where you can assume some of those risks of selling it as is. So it was listed, and when we saw the attention that we were getting and the offers that we were getting, we elected to take it off the market to do some repairs. Now, I've never repaired a home before, so it's like to me, okay, let me find the most cost-effective way to fix it. And one of the biggest lessons learned is you get what you pay for. So if you elect to get cheap labor, sometimes you can find some good ones, but most of the time, that cheap labor gonna reflect cheap labor. I mean, it is what it is. So,
and you're gonna end up paying
having
more.
to redo what they did not do well. So we elected to go ahead and invest the money into trying to do like some upgrades, fix some structural things. So I think I had to do the other side of the roof, had to fix some things in my furnace. The HVAC was good, but the furnace, I think, was messing up. Had to update the plumbing because the plumbing was old.
We decided to replace the floors.
Yeah, I mean, to give it a facelift because I think my house was built back in the was it the 50s?
I don't remember,
60s,
but it was a much older home.
Yeah, it was an older home. So it had this green carpet. I love the green carpet too. I laid on it almost every day. Had this green carpet, had the old linoleum floors. Linoleum floors is just like this sheet of floors that you lay down and it just sticks to the floor. It had the pink tub, it had the pink toilet. The other bathroom had blue little square tile on the wall. The other one had the pink and rose tile on the wall.
Hey, if you got that, ain't nothing wrong with it.
But it's coming back in style now. Now people are starting to try to get those type of things, and so we wanted to give it a facelift to make it look a little bit better. But again, you get what you pay for. So we elected to try to get the cheapest floors that we can possibly get. I mean, it looked nice.
But they also looked warped. And they were new.
Well, I think, too, that's how they were installed, too. So I think the biggest thing that we didn't do in the beginning, as it sat, was paint the kitchen cabinets. The kitchen cabinets was that old wood color, and we said we was going to try to save some money. Like it paired well with the floor. It didn't look terrible, but it just didn't look updated. And it also had some built-in cabinets that we left as the wood color. And we did all the repairs. We did all the updates. I turned the half bathroom that was in the master bedroom to a full bathroom. Updated the ceiling fans, updated some lights.
Because we know with these days, instead of master, we call it a primary bedroom. But many people look for a full bathroom. In his bathroom at the time, it was just a toilet and a sink. And we know what's more appealing is a full bathroom. So we had to add the shower, know. And so just as a seller, that's definitely things to think about. What would make my home more appealing to where I can get a bigger pool of buyers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And sometimes you got to get creative to do that. So in order to make a full bath in the primary suite, it was a coat closet in the hall. So I closed the coat closet off, and so I stole some room from the coat closet to extend the master bedroom closet, and I kind of borrowed some space from the master bedroom closet that was already there to extend the bathroom. Because the square footage of the house is the square footage of the house, unless you are electing to, or you are going to add on, and that's a more costlier renovation. And I wasn't getting ready to do that because I had to relocate a whole bunch of stuff. The air conditioning unit was almost right behind my primary bedroom, the master suite. So I had to relocate the air conditioner. It would have been like an absolute nightmare. So did the updates, renovated the whole house, gave it a fresh coat of paint. Didn't paint the outside though. I think we kept the outside the same color.
I think we pressure washed the outside.
We did. Again, trying to save money. Trying to cut the costs and keep the renovation budget at a minimum to try to get a higher list price. So we did all that, and we decided to go ahead and relist it. Relisted it. Was getting some attention and getting some buyers, but we and this is another point, especially as sellers, where you have to get creative in your listing, because my house was in a flood zone.
Meaning, like, it's designated a flood zone, but you know, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a home is flooded.
Correct.
It's based on its elevation level. It's
well, it's also based on have it flooded previously over the years, and that was an area that had got flooded over the years. Now, you know, over the years they've done some infrastructure improvements that minimizes the flooding over that area, but the most I've ever seen was the water level rise in the street to where you couldn't really drive down parts of the street, but it never got to the house.
So just because a home is in a flood zone area doesn't necessarily mean it's been flooded, but that's something that the current seller should be able to tell you. But if it's in a flood zone and you're gonna purchase a home with a mortgage, you're gonna have to get flood insurance. In addition to regular homeowners insurance. So that's just something to note. And because of that, that was a factor that kind of was against us.
Yeah, that decreased the buying pool.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, they would qualify for, because we had some people that was interested, but when you added the flood insurance, they had to back out of the deal because
it increased their monthly note.
And it was too much for them. And, you know, I understand. We had one couple that was very interested in it, and I think they had trouble with their financing. So, but like, we got some good traction, and
I think you reminded me that with that couple, they asked us, I guess, if we could come down off the price, and think this was back in, I think, 2020. So we're trying to recollect these memories, but I think maybe
they did ask us to come down. And
that is the second lesson. The longer a home sits, the costlier it gets. So when selling your home, you may want to consider, if you have a willing buyer and they're not asking you to come down a whole lot. You know, I know sometimes we can really have a firm number in mind that we want to walk away with when selling our home. But just remember that if you pass up on a buyer You pass up on another buyer because they're not giving you the exact price you want. That's the longer that house is sitting. You're still paying utilities, still paying your mortgage. And by the time you finally get a buyer, that buyer still may end up coming down, and at this point it's like, okay, I'm just ready to get rid of it. It's been sitting too long. And you would have gotten a better price with the first buyer than you end up getting with the one you decided to go with. And again, the longer a house sits, the costlier it gets. Besides utilities, besides a mortgage, you have eyes on that property. Yes, it becomes a target. I reminded Mike, I think around this time of it being listed, it was around the holiday time.
We think.
Yeah. So I know it was the latter part of the year. It was around the holiday time, and it was vacant. Mike had already moved his stuff out. And so when you have a vacant home just sitting, you want to go ahead and get rid of it as soon as possible, at a fair price. But because it is a vacant home and it is a target, just know that there's a high chance, especially depending upon the time that it's listed. Again, it was holiday time for us. People could break in. So that's just another reason you don't want a home to just sit, especially if it's vacant. We had appliances in there, and not everyone's looking at a home for the right reasons. We had not only appliances but also a staging furniture, and so the home did eventually get broken into. We were not anticipating it, but it happened, with neighbors around and everything, in the very, very early morning. But my point is that people are bold.
Oh yeah, because that house had security doors, and I'm telling you, you had to be, you had to want to get up in there, because those doors had, I think, 5 to 6 inch screws. So they had to pretty much tear the frame off the wall to get
and did
to get out, at least to get out. I think they got in through a window that the lock was defective or something like that, and I didn't know. But they came in one time, and they found out they couldn't get out. So they had to come back more prepared. So it was like, okay, we need to do whatever we can to go ahead and get this house out, because I got a feeling they're going to come back. And I got the call that they came back, and I was livid.
Yeah.
Livid. And I don't know if you ever had the feeling of being violated that way, of having your home broken into, and it's just such an eerie feeling when you return back to it. And every time after that, it was just this eerie feeling like, I don't want to come back here. I'm ready to get through this process, whatever we need to do to get past this phase. So after the break-in, we filed the insurance claim. Make sure you keep your insurance paid if you're selling your house. It's important. That don't mean that you can go lax in maintenance. Right. Keep your insurance paid.
Oh, speaking of, real quick, don't go lax in maintenance. Please don't assume that because your home is listed, you can go lax in paying the mortgage. Continue paying the mortgage, because there's just no guarantees of anything. You don't know how long it's going to take to get a buyer. You just don't know. Don't stop paying the mortgage.
You pay that mortgage until you get almost to the closing table. Until you know that you're going to close on that property, you keep paying the mortgage.
And then once you close, the mortgage company will be paid.
The closing attorney going to send them their check.
Yes.
They going to get theirs off the top. They're what you call a first lien holder. They get paid first before you. And everything's left after you pay your real estate commissions, closing costs, all the origination costs. After you pay all of that, whatever's left is yours. And don't go lax on the lawn maintenance just because it's listed. I mean, like, keep it looking nice. You want it to be appealing for buyers to come and want to purchase your home. So,
but we after it got broken into, we ended up making the necessary repairs.
right, and we did some things different.
Yeah.
So I went ahead. We redid the floors.
Because remember, we thought the floors were we went the cheap route with the kind of floors we got.
Yeah.
So yeah.
They was reinstalled. They looked beautiful. We decided to go ahead and paint all the old, outdated wood stuff. We put new knobs on, put new hinges. Just did some minor things that made a major difference.
And just to add in there, we redid the floors because the floors were damaged during the break-in. And I just say, I told Mike, I said the Lord was in it. He didn't cause the break-in, but all things work together for the good of those who love him, of those who are called according to his purpose. So it literally worked out for our good, because when I say the floors were a major deal, because those same floors were laid out throughout the whole home, and because we went the cheap route, it just did not look good in the end. And so that break-in ultimately led to a re-upgrade that helped sell that house.
Yeah, it was good. Like, we took the lessons from the beginning, but had we done these things in the beginning,
yes,
we probably could have went ahead and had it sold for a profit. A lot sooner, a lot quicker. And I think it was around, I'm trying to think, because I think we started on it because we got married in 2019. I'm trying to think, was it before we got married, or was it?
Yeah, so I remember the break-in occurred the day before our anniversary. And I remember that. Yeah, we were married so we listed the home, I think, well, anyway.
Because I think it was the first part of the year, like January to June.
Because we listed it a couple times. So the second time, we were married and we finally sold it.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we got a contract on. We got a contract on our anniversary. That's what it was.
Yeah. And I wasn't playing with it either. I had a willing buyer. They were ready. They were willing. I was like, okay, what do you need to get this deal done?
Yeah.
And very, very nice guy. Very nice guy. And he bought it, and we worked the deal out and got it off our hands and was able to move forward.
Yeah.
But it was after all those lessons, like, don't do it cheap. Like, you may save money on this side, but on the other side, that don't mean you have to go with the most expensive, but you want quality. You want somebody that's going to care about your home like it's their home. You want somebody to do good workmanship. So, because that's a reflection of you. How it looks when somebody comes in and view your home, that's a reflection of your character, your integrity, who you are. So,
sorry, go ahead. I was going to add. I was going to add to that how much you choose to spend on your home renovation. If you choose to renovate, it can also depend on where your house would fall in the market. Because another lesson is you don't want to put more into your home than the neighborhood is going to give you back.
Yeah.
You don't want to put more into your home than the neighborhood is going to give you back. So if your neighborhood, if the value of the neighborhood, maybe the highest is $80,000, you don't want to put
don't worth of work and like, my house look nice, so we gonna sell it for $200. Don't work that way.
Yeah. So, not that it's impossible, because there are homes that are beautiful And there are homes that will bring up the value of your neighborhood, but practically, don't put more into your home than the neighborhood is going to give you back. So, you know, you can still be reasonable in the cost of your upgrades based on where your home is in the market. Now, if your home is in a $1 million neighborhood, you put some work into it and make it look good.
You want to go to the you don't want to do cheap labor. You want to do the best of the best,
or even $500,000 or $300,000. Yeah,
you want to do the best of the best.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna attract a different type of buyer. And
yes, different type of buyer.
So once we did all that and we got to the closing table, it was a relief. I knew I was the biggest goal, especially for me as a seller, was to give someone a home that they can call a home, that they can make it theirs, that it was a place that they can be at peace. So we prayed over it. We invited the Holy Spirit into it, and we asked God to cover it. And my biggest thing is, if it's attached to me, like, I want it to be like the best that I can give it. I don't want it to be no junk. And that was the end product. And I'm thankful that we went through the lessons, because it taught me a lot in the process. So in our current home, if we decide to sell it, we know what to do. We know how to do, to make sure that we get the maximum amount of profit, or the maximum price, the quickest.
Yes.
Because people say location, but it's a price for every buyer. It's a price for every home. So you may feel like your house is in an undesirable location. No, it's a price for every home. You just got to know what their price is. And you can't be in a neighborhood where you know the houses don't sell for $300,000 unless your house for $300,000.
Yeah.
You have to be realistic with yourself. Do the necessary improvements the right way the first time, and remember, it costs the longer it sits.
Yes.
So if you got a mortgage, utilities, prying eyes, the longer it sits, the more risk that you have. So if you do those things in the beginning, you have a higher potential of selling your property.
Awesome. Very good, Shug. And those are lessons from a home seller. All right, y'all. Well, I actually look forward to more talks about real estate. But in the meantime, y'all keep pushing forward. Have an awesome weekend, and we'll see you next Friday.